Resident Evil 4, guys. That's what we're playing today. This game was initially launched in 2005 for the PS2, initially the GameCube, but then later the PS2, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS4, PC, the whole entire gamut there. One thing about this game I'm going to say is that it is very complicated in a lot of ways because of the control layout and the control scheme. The controls are not always responsive. They're not always going to respond in the way you would like for them to respond. Sometimes they're going to be a bit clunky and a bit slow and just kind of they're going to get you killed a lot. Okay? But however, the sound design in this game and the sound ambience and the sound nuance, oh man, like just the sound design alone in this game will freak you out. If you like good survival horror games and things like that, and horror movies and all that kind of stuff, and especially if you like zombies, this is gonna be like your game. Like, it's not even, you might as well just click out of the review right now. This is already your game. You know, this is a solid score for you, you know. But for me, I want to get into the details of this game and kind of explain to people how the game works and why it's such a great game and why it's so well received and why it was so well received and why now it has such a cult following. And I will say, reason number one why it is so well received, okay? It had a very straightforward story, not a particularly good story, but very straightforward, very nuanced, simple, not amazing, not the greatest by any means. If you want a great story, you know, you'd play something like Red Dead Redemption 2, you know, but it's still good for what it is, you know, ish. Not gonna lie, it's not that great. I mean, it's honestly just the president's daughter got kidnapped by a bunch of infected people who got infected by an ancient virus, and they call themselves the Los Plagas. That's the basis of the story. So they're pretty much like zombies, but they're still at the same time like normal people because they still eat and do, you know, somewhat normal people things. One thing about this game is, okay, this is another side note. One thing about this game is, when you're playing it, I highly suggest you search every cabinet in this game, every drawer, every cabinet, because there's always ammo, there's always health, there's always something in the game that can help you out a lot. It will save your ass so much. Every glass cabinet especially, because in the beginning of the game, you get your gun out of a glass cabinet. A shotgun. That's where your shotgun is. It's in a glass cabinet. There's a couple of grenades in glass cabinets as well. I think there's even a rocket launcher in a glass cabinet as well. I haven't beaten this in a while. I beat it on the PS2 twice about 2 years ago, and I enjoyed it. The only reason I had to beat it twice is because the first time I tried to beat it, I ran into the U2 and realized I didn't have the right weapons. And I was sitting there looking like a fool. So I had to go back and collect the right weapons. So I pretty much had to restart the game, because once you get past a certain point, you can no longer go back. This game will allow you to go back, but only up to a certain point. So that was one thing that I had to deal with when I played through this game the first time, and I had no memory card for my PS2. So I had to leave it on day and night trying to figure out how to beat the U2. I tried using the combat knife. That didn't go well. But I digress. One main thing you want to know about this game too, that's very, 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 very important. Okay? When you run into the merchant, you're going to run into him in the beginning of the game. It's going to be not the very beginning. You're going to have to beat some zombies and shoot some zombies first and all that. And when you first run into the merchant, you're going to want to go ahead, if you can, you want to go ahead and upgrade the capacity of your pistol. Because in the first parts of this game, you're going to be mainly using your pistol. That's going to be your main weapon. That's all you're going to mainly be using. You can use a shotgun. As you can see I'm doing now, I'm using the shotgun. I shouldn't be using the shotgun, but I'm using it because I'm doing a review, and I didn't want to look like I suck as much as I do at the game. But I suck. I mean, I got blown up like 2 or 3 times. Granted, Leon's very, very resilient. And also, one way around that is, you know what? A lot of the guys you kill, they drop health. So you can just jump in there and, pick a couple of health plants. And this is Resident Evil, so you can just combine health plant, different kind of herbs. They're herbs. You can just combine different kind of herbs in this game. You get a red herb and a green herb. Combine those two, you got pretty much full health, man. It's like 80-90% health. So it's not even a sweat. I wasn't even sweating it. But there's certain enemies though. Okay. Don't take me for granted on that. There are certain enemies. Okay, there's a couple guys here earlier on in the game who have chainsaws, and they will take your head off. And it's a one-hit kill. It is not no nick. It's a one-hit. They will literally saw your head off. Some of these main bosses, I don't know if I stated it before, but I'm stating it now. The U3, he will take your head off. In one hit, he will take you apart. So you got to be careful with some of these later enemies in the game. That's one thing about this game. And another downside about this game is, texture qualities aren't the best. There are higher texture qualities in some of the later Resident Evil games, but this, like I said, this game's 15 years old. This game came out in 2005. So you got to give it credit, for what it is. You can't expect this to be crazy. Every Resident Evil game is a little bit different. Like Resident Evil, for instance, Resident Evil 7 had typewriters, or it had tape recorders that you saved your game progress on. This one has typewriters in it. That's how you save your game on old school typewriters, and it's cool as all hell. As you save your game, it goes, and it'll sit there and type it out for you. It's really cool. I mean, this is a game. Like, if I had to give it a rating, if I had to give it a serious rating, it's probably a solid 9.8 out of 10. I'm not gonna say it's the best game in the world, but in my opinion, man, it is so close. It is probably one of the best games I've ever played. It's up there with The Last of Us. It's up there with Red Dead 2, GTA 5. Gran Turismo 4, Gran Turismo 3. Gran Turismo 3 is probably my favorite, racing sim. But Gran Turismo 3, Forza 4, it's up there with all those great games. The first Halo, it's epic. And one thing about this game is, when you're when you're playing, you want to make sure you go ahead and upgrade your reload speeds on your guns, because a lot of these zombies, they like to charge, and once they get too close to you, you do have a kick move that will kick them away, and sometimes their heads will explode and all that, but that's not going to work so well later on in the game, because what you'll have is these enemies that have necks that will, they'll have, it's hard to explain, but they'll have necks that will, their necks will they'll expand out of their head like a whiplash, and they will take your head off in one hit. It's a one-hit kill. You cannot let them get anywhere near you. It's very important. Now, if you want to turn the difficulty down in this game, sure, you can play it at a lower difficulty. Not gonna help. Still very, very challenging game. It is not gonna help, buddy. I'm sorry. You're screwed. When you pick this game up and play it, you play it. You either play it or you don't. And you either like it or you don't. Most people like it. Even people who don't like horror games. I've suggested this game to them before, and they've been like, "Man, this is awesome." I was like, "Yeah, man." And then I tell them to play, the later ones. Like the second one that just came out, the remake. That one's even more terrifying than this one. I wish it had more music though, and more ambience like this one does. The music in this one's incredible. The sound design and the sound quality is just incredible. Granted, the textures are a little bit low res, and the lighting's not always the best, and there's little nitpicky things, and some of the puzzles are, not the best puzzles in the world. The controls, I gotta say, are not great. Again, it's just yeesh. But once you get used to it, and once you get a feel for it, it's great. And it still supports, force feedback on the Xbox One controller on PC. It has all that good stuff. You can even play with the PS3 controller on the PC as well if you want to do that. And if you, really want to go out there, it's also available on the Nintendo Switch, and I heard that version was okay. Like, I heard it doesn't run at the best frame rate, but I heard you can still enjoy yourself on it. I heard it runs around 30 FPS or something like that. It tries to hit 60, but it doesn't really hit 60. But it's just one of those things, man. It's all preference. This is all preferences. The main thing is with this game, sometimes with this game, the controls can be a bit twitchy, too, as well. Like, when you're trying to line up a shot, especially with the rifle, it can be sometimes very difficult. But, at the same time, the menus and the layouts of the menus and everything like that is very intuitive, and it makes a lot of sense. You know, the animations are done well. It's very cinematic, especially for a game that came out as long ago as it did. And overall, graphically, it's pretty solid on PC, especially when you crank it up. Just crank up the anti-aliasing to like ×8, you know, and you should be pretty solid. I mean, one downside I have about it is sometimes it's a little bit too cinematic to the point where it's almost looks a little cheesy, but I think that's part of the charm of the game, you know. I mean, this is not a game you go in playing thinking that you're going to be playing something that's from, 2020, you know, it's going to be all awesome, and, it's just something you got to, when you go in and play it, you got to, you got to have the right mindset when you play this game. And you got to have the right system set up when you play this game. One thing I highly suggest with this game is I suggest a nice surround sound system. 5.1 Dolby. Not 2 speakers, not 3 speakers. Full-on 5.1 Dolby. Certified. Then you're going to be fully immersed in the game and in the world and in the lore and in the experience, and you're going to love it, man. You're going to love yourself for it. The controls are easy to learn. Granted, they're a bit, like I said, they're a bit dated and they're a bit clunky, but they're easy to learn, and anyone can learn them. They can pick it up, have a good time, knock themselves out with it, man. This is a good little weekend game. It only takes about 8 to 10 hours to beat. Me, it took a lot longer than that because, I'm not the best at this game, or really any game. But I love playing games. I love having fun with them, and I don't really ever get frustrated, If I fail at it, I'll just pick it up and try again. I'd say this game's easily a solid a solid 9.8 out of 10. I don't usually do 10 out of 10s, but this one's real close to a 10 out of 10. If it wasn't for the story being a little lackluster and the graphics being dated and the controls being a little clunky, it would be a lot higher. But it's still just the enjoyment and just the immersion and everything else and the sense of fear and the sound design and everything else just bring it up to a solid 9.8 out of 10. That's just one of those games, man. You have to play it. It's a must play. It's like not playing The Last of Us and then trying to call yourself a gamer. I mean, not to offend anyone. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm just saying, that's in my opinion. You can't, in my opinion, you cannot call yourself a gamer and not play this. At least not give it a try. It's like not giving Resident Evil, 2 Remake a try. But anyways, like, subscribe. I hope you guys are doing okay during the pandemic. I know things have been tough. I appreciate the views. I appreciate the support. I know I'm still kind of new to this. I'm just going to try and keep decent videos coming your way. And I'll see you guys in the next video.